Can you talk a little bit about your other fund, Bets? Obviously that was a new launch, and sports betting and gambling is definitely something that's existed for quite a while in the country, but it really wasn't until about a year or two ago when it started to we started to see a big push across legalization of states. Like how are you looking at that market? What's interesting to you? And can you talk a little bit about sports betting?
Yeah. So. The ticker's Bets, by the way, BETZ. Be remiss if I didn't mention that. And really what we're going after there is sports betting, both online, which is where we think the future is, and offline, as well as iGaming, which is a fancy way of saying kind of online casino. And really when we looked at what was going on with the DraftKings SPAC, with you mentioned regulatory momentum throughout the US. You also have momentum in Brazil in terms of potential legalization. We said this is really an industry that feels like it has a lot of catalysts for it moving forward. That's one. And two, really fits into our secular growth type box, if you will, based on the fact that the industry is undergoing this transition from physical to digital, which fits in not only with what is going on right now due to coronavirus. The entire economy shifted from physical to digital, but really what we believe in longer term. And when you look at this is also called the gaming industry. It's just a different gaming industry or gambling industry, if you will. You're talking about $500 billion in gross gaming revenues per year. By that definition, it's actually the largest form of entertainment in the world. Only about 10% of that right now is taking place online. And we think that over the coming kind of period here, measured in years, not decades, that will continue to shift in a somewhat meaningful fashion. So really, when we looked at it, we said this is a really interesting market, and it also is a market that is at the top and center for U.S. investors who ultimately are our clients at the end of the day. And it's one that we said, I think we can put together a basket. No one else is doing it, which was surprising to us. So it made a lot of sense.
It's crazy to hear about those numbers. I mean, $500 billion, is that global or U.S.?
That's global. U.S. And this is just to be clear, this is gambling in its entirety, not just sports betting, but that's global. And I think a lot of the excitement right now is focusing on sports betting in particular in the US. And it's kind of this arms race in terms of who's going to win the US market. When you look at kind of the business model right now, it's all about acquiring users. You had I forget when it was, a couple of years back, when you had it felt like every single commercial on TV was either DraftKings or FanDuel. And now you have bigger players getting into the market as well. BetMGM is one example. Really, it's kind of all about customer acquisition right now, which works in today's market because some of these companies are still investing in the future and aren't turning a profit yet. But when you look longer term, these can be really profitable businesses. We're talking about 25% EBITDA margins for running a kind of profitable sports book. And it's really difficult to try and pin a number on U.S. regulated betting because it's taken place in this unregulated market for so long. But we can look to countries like Australia, like the UK, that kind of have these developed betting markets. And we're talking about billions of dollars in terms of revenue, somewhere between 10 and 20. I mean, who knows where it's going to be at maturity. And then the longer term, really interesting play here is that of iGaming, which is online slots or online blackjack. And as you can imagine, if you've ever played those games yourself, the house tends to win more there than they do in a sports bet, where all you've kind of got is the vig up for grabs, but you have a 50-50 shot of winning your sports bet. So that's really where these companies are going to go longer term. There's one really interesting company in our portfolio, Evolution Gaming Group, that does kind of live online casino where you're actually watching a live stream. Because I think a lot of people, I know for me, my hesitation is playing online blackjack. I don't trust the algorithms and the computer that they're going to be a fair shake. If it's someone physically dealing the cards, I'll give it a try.